Have you ever felt that the older you get, the more overlooked you are? You've spent your whole life taking care of your family, friends, children, and grandchildren. But when you need someone by your side, there's no one there. Why are there people who always appear when you are at your weakest, but when you are better, they disappear without a trace? Why do you give so much but receive so little? And why is it that the more you try to please others, the more lonely and empty you feel? This is not your fault. But there is one truth very few people dare to tell you directly. As you get older, you become easy prey for exploitation from your family, your friends, even the people you trust the most. And if you don't realize this soon, you will continue to live the last years of your life in sadness, sacrifice, and regret. But you deserve more. You deserve to have a peaceful, fulfilling old age, and no longer have to live in the torment of the past. You deserve to be loved, but by people who really care about you, not people who just show up when they need something. And most of all, you deserve to put yourself first, because this is your life. Take a few minutes to watch this entire video, because the 7 truths I'm about to share can make you wake up and take back control of your life. From work, learn how to say no to people who only want to take advantage of you, to break the invisible chains that bind your life. These will be the lessons change the way you see yourself forever. And don't leave too early. Tip number 7 will surprises you, maybe even startles you because you never thought it was so important. Before we begin, comment "I am worthy" below to let me know you are ready to change your life. Let's explore now. 1. Don't blindly trust anyone. The painful truth you need to know. Have you ever thought that the people you trust the most can be the ones who hurt you the most? You spend your whole life loving and helping others, but when you need a helping hand, where are they? Have you ever noticed that are there people who only appear when you are in trouble, but when you get stronger, they disappear without a trace? The sad truth is, the older you get, the more you become a bait for opportunists. They don't come to you because of love, but because benefit. Maybe it is money, a loan that can never be repaid. Maybe it is help, but only one way, and when you need them, they are no longer there. Or simply, the need to control you. They want you to be there for them, but when you need them, they disappear. Real story. Miss Emily, 68 years old, once trusted a close friend and neighbor. They talk every day, go to the market together, share all the joys and sorrows in life. But one day, that friend asked her to borrow a small amount of money, promising to pay it back as soon as she received her salary. Trusting you, Mrs. Emily didn't think too much and happily lent. But then what happens? That friend avoids Mrs. Emily, no longer visit like before, even pretend not to see every time I pass by. A friendship for many years disappears just because kindness is taken advantage of. And the truth is, Miss Emily is not the only person in this situation. 60% of elderly people have ever had your kindness taken advantage of by relatives or friends, according to research by Aging Care. Many people have lost tens of millions, even property, because they trusted others too much. But here's what you need to remember. You don't have to live in suspicion of everyone, but you need to be more wise in placing your trust. How to protect yourself. Learn to say, no, not everyone deserves your kindness. Do not lend easily. Money can destroy a relationship faster than anything. Listen to your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, it probably really isn't right. Only trust those who have proven they are worthy. Friendship and intimacy need to be built with actions, not just words. 2. Stop living to please others, especially family. Have you ever felt that you are only valuable when you can help others? You have spent your whole life taking care of your children, worrying about your family, sacrificing everything just to make sure those around you are happy. But when you need a shoulder, a real concern, is there anyone there? The truth is, as you get older, this pressure does not lessen but becomes more severe. You begin to realize that you are no longer the center of the family. You're still there, still helping people, but gratitude, it seems to be less and less. Try to think about this. When you are young, you can say that you do everything because of love, because of responsibility, because it is your duty. But at this age, when you've given everything away, who really cares about you? Let's face it, if you don't put yourself first, no one will. There are many parents and grandparents, like you, who have devoted their lives to sacrificing for their children and grandchildren. And then one day, they are startled to realize that they are no longer valued. The family begins to see them as an endless resource, someone who is always there when needed, someone who is willing to provide financial support, someone who helps them looking after the grandchildren to doing housework. And when they are no longer able to do those things, they are forgotten. Grandma Amelia, 72 years old, was a devoted mother and grandmother who loved her grandchildren wholeheartedly. She spent her entire old age taking care of her children, helping them financially, and taking care of her grandchildren so they could have time to work. But then, when her health weakened, she could no longer do those things. One day she was sick and no one came to visit. A whole week passed. She only received one hasty call from her daughter, asked a question through loudspeaker, and then hung up because she was busy. Grandma Amelia, suddenly she realized that all her life she had cared for others, but not a single day had she truly lived for herself. According to a survey, more than 70% of elderly people feel they are considered invisible breadwinners in the family, only remembered when others need help. Is that fair? This doesn't mean you have to stop loving your family. But it's time to love yourself first. You have the right to say no when you feel tired. You have the right to rest without feeling guilty. You have the right to enjoy your remaining years the way you want. Think about it. If you keep giving without keeping anything for yourself, one day, you will realize that you have lost yourself. You have sacrificed too much. It's time to live for yourself without feeling guilty. 3. Don't be afraid to walk away from toxic people, even if they are close to you. We are always taught that family is everything, that no matter what, we must keep the peace. But at what cost? How many times have you patiently endured insults, emotional manipulation, and even humiliation just because you thought, that's family, I can't leave them. Have you ever wondered, is it worth it? There are relationships that do not bring love, only hurt. There are relatives only come to you when they need something, but are indifferent when you need them. And there are families who just know demanding, but never appreciating your sacrifice. You don't have to endure that. Is family really everything? Mrs. Han, 70 years old, has spent her whole life taking care of her children and grandchildren. When she was healthy, she was the first person people called when they needed help. But when she was old and sick, her children sacrificed their lives suddenly became busy. No one has time to visit her, except when they need to borrow money. Mrs. Han once believed that family is everything, that as long as she loves with all her heart, her children will reciprocate. But she was wrong. She is not the only one. According to a survey, more than 65% of elderly people feel they are taken advantage of or treated unfairly within their own families. Kindness should not be a trap for others to take advantage of. Think carefully. Have you ever done something just because you were afraid of being discredited? Irresponsible. Have you ever helped someone in your family? Just because of pressure, not because you really want to. Have you ever felt I had to sacrifice, but never received the respect I deserved? If the answer is yes, have, then maybe it's time to set limits for yourself. Remember, you don't owe anyone, including your family. People say, blood and blood, but blood is not a reason for you to enduring injustice, being taken advantage of, or being hurt for life. You have the right to leave people who hurt you, no matter who they are. You have the right to choose peace instead of suffering, select happiness instead of meaningless sacrifice. You have rights to live for yourself, because no one else will do it for you. Remember that your mental health is more important than any relationship. So, don't be afraid to walk away from people who only know how to take advantage of you. Don't be afraid to create distance with those who make you tired. Ask yourself, would they do the same for you? If the answer is no, then you know what you need to do. 4. Stop expecting recognition from others. Have you ever waited for a thank you, but never received it? You have spent your whole life taking care of your family, taking care of your children, and helping your friends. You have sacrificed so much time, effort, even your health and dreams, just to think that one day, they will recognize and be grateful to you. But the truth is, that thank you may never come. And the more you expect, the more disappointed you are. What are you sacrificing for? Mrs. Albina, 68 years old, spent her whole life taking care of her children. She gave up the job she loved, sacrificed her youth to stay home to take care of her children and raise the family. She thought that when she was old, her children would care again and appreciate what she had done. But what about reality? Her children are busy with work and their own families. They took everything she ever did for granted. No one asked her if she was tired or sad. Only when they need her to look after their grandchildren or help with housework do they remember her. Is this story familiar? According to a survey, more than 80% of elderly people feel that what they have done for their family is not properly appreciated. This is not your fault. But here's what you need to understand. Your value does not depend on whether others recognize it or not. Stop waiting for recognition. You don't need it. You have lived a life full of love and sacrifice. And that in itself is meaningful. You don't need someone to confirm that you did the right thing. You don't need anyone to say thank you to prove that you are valuable. Your value lies in who you are, not in praise or recognition from others. Ask yourself, are you sacrificing too much just in exchange for appreciation? Are you placing your happiness on whether others recognize what you do? And if one day they never say thank you, will that stop you from living happily? The answer is a no. Remember, you are always enough. You don't need recognition from anyone. If someone appreciates you, smile and accept. But if no one appreciates you, you are still yourself, still living your own life, and that is more than enough. 5. Don't use age as an excuse not to change. Do you believe that your life is over just because you have turned 60, 70, or 80? If you've ever thought, I'm old, I can't change anymore, then I want to tell you something. That's a dangerous lie. Not someone told you. It's not that life forces you to believe that. You are building a wall to separate yourself from new things. Age is not a limit, it's an advantage. You have experience, wisdom, and freedom that young people don't have. You are no longer pressured by work or heavy family responsibilities like before. So why don't you give yourself the opportunity to change? You can learn something new. You may find a new passion. You can make friends with people who inspire you. And you might even fall in love again. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Not even yourself. Real story. Mr. Hodgson, 75 years old, used to think he was too old to study technology. For years, he refused to touch a smartphone, refused to learn how to make video calls or use social networks. He believes that he is too old to keep up with the youth. But then one day, he saw that his 5-year-old grandson could use the phone more fluently than him. He decided to try to change. In just 1 year, he not only knew how to use the phone, but also created his own Facebook account, made video calls with his children and grandchildren every day, and even opened a separate YouTube channel to share his life experiences. Mr. Hodgson proved one thing: no one gets old, only those who give up on themselves. What does science say? According to research from Stanford University, the human brain can still learn and adapt at any age. Learning a new skill or trying a new experience can help you live longer, healthier, and happier. So why stop? You're not getting older, you're getting stronger. You can't turn back time to your 20s, but you can do what your 20s couldn't: live with true understanding, experience, and freedom. The world still has many things waiting for you to explore. Happiness is not just for young people. Opportunities are not just for those who are young. You have the right to change. And you can do it, starting today. 6. Don't let the past hold you back. Are you living, or are you just exist in past memories? Have you ever sat alone, looked out the window and thought, the old days were much better than now. I used to be happier. You remember the days of your youth, when you were healthy, could do many things, and had relatives around you. You miss the old streets, familiar restaurants, and leisurely afternoons on park benches. And then you sigh, feeling like the present no longer makes any sense. But the past is gone, you can't live in it forever. Did you know that does the human brain tend to idealize the past? When you look back, you only remember the most beautiful things, but forget the difficulties you went through. Let's think about it. When you were young, you also faced challenges, tiring days, and restless sleep. When you think the old days were better, are you just being select the good memories and ignore the sadness? According to a study by Harvard, people who regularly live in the past have 30% higher stress levels and are at higher risk of depression than those who focus on the present. Do you want to spend your remaining years regretting? The past is a place to remember, not a place to live. Mr. Michael, 72 years old, used to be a doctor in Chicago. When he retired, he felt lost. He has devoted his whole life to patients, and now, every day he just sits and looks at old photos, remembering the time he was in the operating room. He felt I'm no longer valuable. But then one day, his niece asked, "Can you teach me how to do CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation? I haven't studied at school yet, but I want to know." For the first time in many years, he felt I still have something to give. Not long after, he signed up for the job volunteer at local medical center, teaches first aid skills to teenagers. And then, he realized that you don't lose your value, you just need to find a new way to contribute. You can do the same thing. Why let old memories control you when you still have so much to enjoy right now? Create new memories, starting today. Did you know? What is the best thing about right now? It's happening right now. Ask yourself, what you always wanted to do but never tried it. What can it bring you? Joy right now. Don't just sit and remember the old days. Get up and create the best days today. 7. Don't let unhealthy habits control your life. Do you ever feel like you're wasting too much time on things that don't really help you? You turn on the TV, scroll through hundreds of channels, but none of the shows really interest you. You spend hours on your phone, scrolling through post after post, but when you put your phone down, you still feel empty. You may realize that these habits don't really make you happy, but you keep doing them because they're easy. Habits that feel good but are eroding you. There are habits that bring temporary comfort, but in the long run, they are taking more from you than they give. Watch TV for hours, but nothing makes you feel truly happy. Sit around surfing social networks, but the more you look, the more you see that your life is boring compared to others. Eating emotionally, but then feeling guilty because your health isn't what it used to be. Delaying movement, delaying trying new things, delaying life. And so, each day passes, each year passes. Do you see yourself in it? You are worth more than habits that make you tired. Mr. William, 74 years old, used to spend all day just sitting in front of the TV screen. He no longer does the things he used to enjoy, no longer goes out, no longer tries anything new. Then one day, he decided to change. He started walking every morning. At first it was only 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 30 minutes. He found his old guitar and practiced playing his favorite songs again. After just a few months, he no longer felt like he was wasting time, but felt like every day was valuable. You don't need to change everything at once, but you can change the smallest thing today. Replace old habits with activities that make you feel fulfilled. Instead of continuing habits that only bring temporary satisfaction, try doing something that brings lasting value. Go for a walk, breathe fresh air, let your body move, and let your mind relax. Read a book to learn new things, to expand your thinking, to find inspirational ideas. Learn a new skill. You are never too old to try something new. A foreign language, a musical instrument, a recipe. Happiness does not come from short moments of entertainment. Happiness comes from things that make you feel meaningful in life. You deserve a more fulfilling life, even if you're just starting now. You don't need to wait until tomorrow. You don't need to wait for the right time. The right time is now. Take back control of your life. You came through with me 7 truths that are hard to hear but necessary. A number of things may have triggered you awakened. Some things can do you touch the pain, but all of these help you look back at yourself. Now, ask yourself, will you continue living the same way, or will you change? Remember what we discovered together. You no longer blindly trust anyone, because you've learned how to protect yourself from people who only show up when they need something. You have stopped living to please others, because you realized that you were not born to be anyone's tool. You are strong enough to leave toxic people, because you understand that blood is not an excuse to endure hurt. You no longer wait for recognition from others, because you are always full. You've given up the "I'm too old to change" excuse, because you know that age is not a barrier, it is an advantage. You no longer let the past control you, because you understand that the past is a place to remember, not a place to live. You have decided to take control of your life, by replace destructive habits with things that make you truly happy. Your life still has so much to experience. Did you know that time never comes back? Every day that passes is a day you can never get back. Do you want to continue living the old way, just existing and regretting? Good. Do you want to make the rest of your life the most rewarding years? Take action today. Don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait for a right time. The right time is now. If someone is taking advantage of you, learn to say no. If you're feeling stuck, try stepping out of your comfort zone. If you are still waiting for something to happen, remember that you are the one making the change. Now, do this. Comment right below the video, "I control my life," to confirm that you won't let anything control your life anymore. Please share this video with the people you love, because everyone deserves a meaningful life, even if they are just starting now. Don't just watch and forget. Act now before you fall back into the same cycle. Because the scariest thing isn't getting old, it's looking back and realizing you never really lived. Are you ready for change? If so, let the world know now.